That's that sound that tells us it's time for another Drum Talk TV interview. And this is a very special interview. They're all special, but they're all special for different reasons. This is Jonathan Scales' return offense. But after like 10 years, I'm pretty sure it's been 10 years. Jonathan and I met 10 years ago online, like a lot of people, on Facebook, started following his music, and he came on the show. And we're going to show some videos. Just if you haven't seen Jonathan Scales Fourchestra, it's just amazing stuff. It's really, in fact, all day today, I wore a t-shirt that had the thinker statue next to a box, thinking out of the box. Like, Jonathan, you were my whole theme for the day because your whole musical branding and your style and everything, your wonderful compositions and 8 albums is really thinking out of the box, which you've done with such a beautiful instrument that is not known for jazz or jazz fusion. First of all, welcome and thank you for taking time. How are you, man?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Doing really, really well. Great. Thanks. So, I don't know where to begin other than to ask, it's been 10 years and I've watched this trajectory. You've had some personnel change, but great music all the whole way. You're gigging all the time now. And if you're not gigging, you're recording. Was there a first point you can think of maybe in the beginning of those previous 10 years from now, there was like the first jolt, the first pivot where things really caught and the velocity picked up?
Let's see here. I think it's hard for me to like process information in that way because it's all just kind of like happening perpetually.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Runs together. It's all related.
Because it's all really, I've been into philosophy a lot, right? And anytime I get to kind of like present the way that I think, I really appreciate that opportunity. So like this idea of this, like these jolts that happen, I think it could be kind of a dangerous, it's like a drug for us musicians. We're like, oh, this thing happens. And then now it like validates this idea that we're doing the right thing. And like, I think that's something that like is really, something that we all do. But as I get older, now I start to realize that like all of it is just like part of the whole journey, Yeah,
so
like, sure,
absolutely.
I could go through and say like, the first time that like Bela Fleck posted about me.
Yeah.
And I saw that text, like, it's like a really validating thing, or like even later on, like doing like the Tiny Desk and stuff like that, where there was like a big jolt.
Yeah, that was cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, really cool. I loved seeing that because I saw what you were doing leading up to that, and I think it's fair to say that was a really beautiful step. I mean, Tiny Desk, we've seen some of our biggest legacy artists on that. So that was neat. And it's easy, like you said, I think that for some musicians, when you said it's dangerous, the way I look at that, and tell me if this is what you meant, it's easy to then become complacent or rest on your laurels and sort of, almost take the seatbelt off because, hey, look what we did, rather than just, no, now it's more fuel for going to the next step and the next step, right?
Right. For example, I remember when, so people who have followed me know that I'm a big fan of Bela Fleck, the banjo player. Yeah. And it was always a big dream to work with him. And I remember when, finally, on my 6th album, I was able to get Bela Fleck to play on a track. And I remember thinking like, okay, when the CDs come in the mail and the box of CDs come in the mail and I hold the disc and I hold the packaging and it has that promo sticker on it that says like featuring Bela Fleck and Victor Wooten and, then my life is going to be so complete and it's going to just be like this most amazing revelation. Like I did it, like I reached this point. And I remember like getting the box of fresh albums in the mail, picking it up, seeing it. And my first thought was like, now what?
Yeah.
Like I did it. The thing that I thought that I wanted most, I did that. And it's like this constant idea of like, shooting for something and then figuring out. So like it's like a constant revolving thing, which is why, like, you know, I try to like talk to people about these milestone things. Like, they do keep us going, and they are encouraging and lets us know that we're on the right path. But also, when things are low, we also have to realize that we're still on that same path.
Yeah, absolutely. It ebbs and flows as far as the energy and everything. When you had that now what moment, was there an epiphany? Did it had to marinate for a while? Did you start simmering on the next idea right away? Or like what happened with that now what moment?
Well, I think that, like, for me as like a musician who's running a business, it's an interesting thing because, like, you know, it's like, okay, I have Bela Fleck on an album. Like, for one, as a like creatively, I got to work with one of my biggest heroes, so it's like it's really amazing,
Yeah.
and it's like special in its own right without having to add any type of value to it outside of like just the experience, right?
Right.
But then there's the other part of it where like this is like a career, so then it's like cool, like, I got the stamp of approval basically from like one of the greatest musicians alive.
Yeah.
So how do I pivot that? You know what I mean? And that's where it gets into like, you know, promotional stuff and business stuff, and like, getting him to play with us on Tiny Desk, and just, you know, open a lot of doors when people saw certain musicians that were associated with me,
Yeah.
So it's tricky because also, like, I think it's important for people to be genuine as well, So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
I find that sometimes people will like associate themselves with other musicians as a way to like build themselves up like through the career, which is, something that people do. But I think it's better when it's like genuine.
Totally. Totally. And that now what moment, it can be okay, okay, now what?
Right.
Or it could be a spark for imposter syndrome. It
Yeah.
could be a spark for all this pressure. Like I've said this over and over. I heard from, I think it was Clint Eastwood, I think pretty sure it was Clint Eastwood who said, once you have these different milestones of success, the hardest act to follow is your own. So sometimes that weighs on us. It's how you take that ball of clay of the now what moment and mold it into the next big thing and
Yeah.
start planning for it, or at least leave yourself open to the universe for that next creative thing to come, or get in this dark place like, oh my God, now what? All this expectations, all this pressure, and it's all a choice. It's
Right.
about being aware and, like you said, authentic, genuine, and doing with it what will work best for you, and nothing negative ever does.
Yeah, and I think that, like, if I had to pick which now what was it, it was like in between. It wasn't like the now what, like I did this thing, or it wasn't like the oh now what. It was like it was very neutral. It was like, this is now the new normal, and what am I gonna
That's
do
great.
with that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like cool. Like, literally, I have a lot of my heroes on one record,
Yeah.
and they all lend their voice to like bring my ideas to life. And I did that, and it was a lot of work. And then here we are.
Yeah. Just
Now,
amazing.
yeah, like, now what? All right. I had to figure out what it is, but now this is the new, this is the new
The new normal.
yeah, we got here. And I feel like a lot of what we do as artists is very abstract.
For sure.
You know what I mean? So I know
Yeah.
I'm a very strange person. I get really deep and philosophical and psychological, but
Oh,
like,
you're in the right place.
like, basically there's ideas that come to my head. I write them down, figure it out, get my band to play it and interpret it in their own ways. And then people come to see us do that live. And then they buy merchandise and they tell their friends. And there's enough people that are doing that has led to me having a sustainable career.
Yeah.
That's really abstract.
It is abstract.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's nothing. There's nothing tangible about that. Like, even when we're playing the music, like, I don't want to sound like a like crazy right now, but like it's really abstract what we do, you know?
Totally.
And it's not
It
lost on
absolutely
me.
is. Yeah, you can't put it what you hear and feel in that moment and put it on a shelf. And I don't mean in the form of a recording, but you can't take what happens at that gig, what's happening with you as the artist and those in the audience, feeling it, watching it, vibing on it in their own way, and then put it in your pocket and take it out later and go, okay, let me have that again, unless they go see you again. And then it's abstract again in its own way because it's a different event.
Yeah. And in that same breath, like that's why, like, even to this day, after like almost 19 years of doing this with the Fourchestra, like when people come up to me and they're, you know, like people who've driven hours to come see us at a show, or people who literally have like, you know, crossed international boundaries to be at one of our shows, or people who like tell me how their music has affected their life, or people who have like, you know, chosen what college to go to based off of what we've done. Yeah. Like that's really heavy.
Yeah. That last one is deep.
Yeah. So like, cause like for me, I'm just like I said, I have these ideas in my head musically. I put them out there in the world, and that's like, that's not the end of the line for me, but like, that's just what I'm doing. So like, you know, anytime that I hear any feedback like that, it's amazing. Like I can't believe it either, you know?
That's awesome. I want to show a video from 10 years ago.
Okay.
And then I want to show a couple of videos that are much more recent. So check this out, folks. And this is a real treat if you're not familiar at all with what Jonathan's been doing. That's not the 10-year ago one. That's a sneak peek at the next one. Here you go. Nice. And we're going to see some more recent videos in a moment. Do you want to give a shout out to the players from back then?
Yes. So in that video, you see the great Cody Wright on the bass, and the great Chazere Shank on the drums.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was a special lineup.
Had Chazere on back then. Yeah. After you were on, he was on. Yeah. I can't believe it was 10 years ago. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if I knew that.
Oh, wow. I'll have to dig that up and send it to you.
Yeah, I want to check that out.
Yeah, for sure. And Cody Wright on bass, just wonderful stuff. Now, fast forward. And by the way, that was 2015. That was Jonathan Scales Fourchestra specifically. Now, let's see this one that you all got 2 seconds of before I played that video. Here we go. Nice. One more, and then we'll talk about these clips. Here we go. That was 2023 in Nevada City, California. Box in the Sky. I love that piece.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about those guys.
Yeah, Mason Guidry on the drums, which I think you've had him before, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and Elon JD on the bass on those clips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a great piece, great lineup. When are you coming like out west again? We're in Arizona, up in the mountains in Globe, Arizona, east of Phoenix.
And we've never been to Arizona, but we're gonna probably be out west again, maybe in March. But
Okay.
hopefully, hey, we never know where we're gonna show up. We're always everywhere. So
Okay. There's so many cool places in Arizona.
well, we would love to be there. So you're gonna have to pass that along. And I'll pass it to the powers that be and
cool.
the powers that talk to the people to get us to appear in random places in the world.
You know, a great place for you guys is there's a beautiful theater at the what's known as the MIM, the Musical Instrument Museum. Look that up. It's great. Steve Gadd was just there recently with his band. It's really a beautiful place. There's Mesa Art Center. There's a lot of really nice places. And do you ever hit Vegas?
I've only played in Vegas once at the university.
Okay. We're in Vegas a lot because most of our kids live there and grandkids, and now a great grandkid. That, like I said, time flies. So what what I keep thinking about is the way you mentioned your music affects people, even when someone has told you it weighed in on their decision of where to go to university. Do you know how that came into play?
Well, from what I've heard, okay, so there's like, I don't want to like call out any particular person's story.
That's okay.
So I'm trying to like make it a little bit more vague, but like there's like steel pan programs that are not only in colleges but also high school. So like I started at a steel pan program at Appalachian State University in North Carolina. That's how I started playing pan. Yeah, before that I was a saxophone player and I did like drumline stuff also.
Oh wow.
So I say that to say that some people started in high school with like high school steel bands actually. And people hear about my music and stuff and they go down the rabbit hole and they find out that I went to Appalachian State and they find out that I came through that steel band. So there are people who went there to because they heard about the program that I came through, or people who even like heard that I went and studied composition there, and then they found out about that school. So I've definitely heard from from several people who,
they wanted to follow in your footsteps.
Yeah, I didn't want to say
or your pan steps. They want to follow in your pan steps. That's really neat. That's such a great story. And I'm pretty sure I'm not dreaming this. I'm pretty sure that a couple years ago, I have an issue with the whole time warp thing, especially since the pandemic. But I'm pretty sure when I interviewed the wonderful Ms. Downs, the founder of the Louisville Leopard Percussionists, that you did some work with them. You did a special thing with their pan group, right?
Yeah, they commissioned me to write a piece.
Yeah.
So I did that, and also whenever we would come through Louisville, Kentucky, we would try to do like a little workshop.
That's great.
We would at least go to play for the kids. So the Louisville Leopards are really special.
That's awesome. What a wonderful organization.
Yeah.
When you work workshops, especially with youngsters, do you get into the history of the instrument and basically what the etymology is of it, where it's from, and all of that?
So I do a little bit. It depends on the age. It depends on the situation. It depends on what class it is. But
that makes sense.
I have a very interesting position in the world of this instrument because like I'm not really coming from a traditional place.
Right.
So like I don't feel like I represent, like I'm not like the poster child for like the tradition itself.
Right.
So I do make sure that people understand that this is an instrument that comes from Trinidad and Tobago. And, I let them know about the process and how it's made and a little bit of the history. But also at the same time, this instrument is like, a lot of people don't really see it as, they see it as like a novelty thing. A lot of people see it as a novelty thing. So like part of me just playing it as an instrument is also normalizing it as an instrument without having to always go down the rabbit hole of all the history all the time. You see?
Yeah.
In the same way where like, you're used to seeing a piano player, a guitar player, you don't think anything of it because they've been doing it. Yeah. And I do feel like, like actions can speak louder than words sometimes. So like, even in my history, I know that there's times where I just do my thing and then people become interested in the instrument and they go down the rabbit hole and they find out about Calypso and they find out about Trinidad and Panorama. And so it's kind of like reverse engineering.
Yeah. Well, what got you interested in it? You mentioned that you were in drumline, you played saxophone. What got you interested in these beautiful instruments?
So when I went to Appalachian State University in North Carolina, I went there to study composition. And as I mentioned before, I entered in as a saxophone player. That's what I did my audition on. But like in high school, I had drumline experience and also orchestral percussion experience too. And a friend of mine who was already at Appalachian State was in the steel band, and they're like, "Jonathan, you got to audition for this ensemble. It's fun. You get it's like worth 1 credit, and we get to like travel on Fridays and Saturdays sometimes, and like get on one of these trips and get to like play music all around the state of North Carolina, and it's like a fun thing to do." And I had zero interest in doing it, honestly. I was like, no, I'm here to study composition. I'm focused on that. And then so they were like, well, let's just go into the room and check it out, right? So they took me into the room, which traditionally is called the pan yard. They took me to the pan yard, and I got to see the instrument. And I got to I got to touch it, and I got to, make a sound on it. Yeah. And then from there, I was just hooked. I was like, all right. I was like, I guess
right into you, right?
Yeah. I was like, I guess I'll try it. I guess I'll give it a shot. And then that was the fall of 2002.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So 23 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's awesome. And it seems like you're starting to figure it out.
I'm working on it.
It's a never-ending journey, right?
It is a never-ending journey. This is correct.
Yeah. I just love what you've done with bringing it into, the fusion and the jazz, and you hear all these other layers and flavors and even aromas of different musical influences. And I think that is what makes music fresh these days. Back in the 60s, 70s, there was this huge musical movement. We all know that. And there was so much latitude by the record companies for creativity. Sure, do a double album, 1 song each side. It was like so different then, right? And then all of a sudden, suits got involved, commercialization got involved, commoditizing everything got involved. It was all about hits. And then there was new wave and hair metal spandex and, all these things. But now we see stuff like really fresh, creative music coming out, like what you're doing. And more often than not, it's because it's not just based on one thing. You are bringing, it's like mixing recipes, if you will, and creating this amazing restaurant that you can't find anywhere else because everyone else is doing what everyone else is doing. So kudos to you for really bringing some nice, new, beautiful, fresh music, for people to enjoy.
I've thought about that. First of all, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
But as I hear that, one thing that kind of comes to my mind is, what people are hearing from me, people perceive it as, like you mentioned, like I've taken these like a recipe, like a cook who's making a dish and like presenting something. And I feel like, there's a lot of okay, people always ask me like, how did I come to make this kind of music on my instrument? And it's not something that I came to, you know what I mean? Like I just didn't know that there was rules.
Right.
So I just did what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
You see what
You
I'm saying?
didn't formulate this. It wasn't like a preconceived, let me snap
Yeah,
this together, and there was
yeah,
no blueprint for it.
yeah. Something that people often ask me in interviews is they'll say, when did you decide to revolutionize the steel pan or something like that, or when did, how did you know, like, when did you decide that you wanted to take the steel pan in this direction? And it never was a decision. So I came into college as a composer already. I started writing music when I was about 10 years old. And, so when I got into college and I got into the steel pan ensemble, the first thing I did once I kind of got comfortable with the instrument was like started playing my already existing compositions that I had before I even played this instrument. I was starting to play those compositions on the steel pan. And it wasn't until one day where I was playing one of my own things where another fellow student who was like an upperclassman was like, man, what are you playing? Like, that's really different. That's really different for the steel pan. And I was like, oh, really? Oh, well, yeah, it's this song that I wrote like when I was in the 10th grade. And I'm playing it on this. And like, so it never really was a decision, and I feel like, speaking about what you're talking about in terms of like music and how like in the 70s, there was this creativity. I feel like the reality is music feels very genuine when people are making it from a genuine place and when they are just being themselves. And like, for example, like, this is a weird thing to say on an interview about myself, but like, like I'm not downing myself, but like there's people who have focused their life more on playing and they're the most amazing players I've ever heard. And but like for me, I've focused my life on the compositions.
Yeah.
So like even though I'm on Drum Talk TV, I'm a composer first and foremost.
Yep.
And
right now the steel pan is part of your megaphone along with the other two guys in Fourchestra.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
makes total sense. So Jonathan, that all makes sense. Do you credit that it just happened aspect as opposed to formulating it? Do you credit that partly to you didn't come from a place where you studied and immersed yourself in the traditional aspect of the instrument? Therefore, you didn't start out confined. You didn't start out with rules. You didn't start out with, well, this is how it's used and this is how you do it.
Right.
And these are your boundaries. You started out boundless because it made a beautiful sound. And as a composer, you decided to use that as your voice.
Yes.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah. That's exactly what it was. And I've heard directly from people that are like more in the culture of steel pan and Trinidad that like I've heard directly from people who say that like, they grew up in a situation where people were like, this is what it's supposed to be. This is how you play. This is good. This is bad. This is how this sounds. Don't do this. Do this.
Right.
And I just didn't have that. So it's like, I take it as like a gift and a curse, honestly. Because the gift is I've created my own voice, my own sound, my own lane. I'm doing my thing, and am able to carve out a path for myself. The curse part of it, I would just say, is, and which is not bad, but it's like, yeah, I didn't come up in that, so like I don't know all the tunes. I can't.
Yeah.
I don't like if people are jumping in playing a traditional tune, I may have heard it, but maybe I've never played it.
Right. So I've always wondered, and now I get to ask you, have there been, when it comes to the traditionalists, let's say, of that style of music where the pan comes from Trinidad and whatnot, and the actual players as well, not just the players, but the appreciators of that traditional style, are there two camps where some feel it's absolute blasphemy and others are just mind blown and just like love that you've taken it to a whole other place with their instrument from their culture, their world?
Yes.
I could see that being the case.
Yeah, because you also have to understand that the steel pan is the national instrument of Trinidad and Tobago. It's like such a symbol of pride. So, like you said, there are two camps of people. For the most part, people have been very supportive of my take on, playing this instrument in the context that I do. And a lot of people are very supportive, and they see it as, for one, like breaking out of the mold of tradition of like what people expect of the instrument. And for two, because I've like have some modicum of success in my career, I've also been able to take the instrument into places where people have never seen it before. And so it's like helped to spread it also too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And so a lot of people like from Trinidad will like give me props for that and like say great things. And then there's people who, because I'm not playing calypso, there's some people who hate on me for that. I mean, I've gotten emails from people being like, hey, I liked your last album was cool, but maybe you can do like a calypso standard on maybe you can just throw in a calypso standard on your next album.
Just because that's the instrument. It's like, if you think about how silly that is, it's like, let's just say for a moment, let's just say that Ozzy Osbourne, bless his heart, the late great Ozzy Osbourne, played accordion on a Black Sabbath song, on one Black Sabbath song. It would then be like traditionalists writing Black Sabbath saying, since Ozzy played an accordion, you really should do a polka standard too. It's like so unrelated to what the path you're on, the mission. But the smart ones are the ones that you mentioned, the former statement you made, where they see it. Wow, this guy's getting our instrument out there, and it's beautiful how he's doing it, even though it's not the traditional way. Let's just get it out there. The world is seeing our instrument. Like, that's such a positive light,
Yeah, and I appreciate that, but I also have to say that like the way that I interpret being an artist, there was a lot of pressure on me also as someone who was kind of like raising through the ranks to like make sure that I am a person who is like shining light on this instrument in a particular way, and like, rooting it back to Trinidad and Tobago, making sure people know about the culture. And like as I age and as I do what I do, I think that like I realize that like for me personally, I think that my job is just to make the art that I make.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? I think my job is to like make the art that I make and to put it out there and present it in the way that I feel like makes the most sense.
That's the only responsibility you have as an artist. It's the responsibility to yourself.
Yeah, and I think that like that's how I've been able to craft my sound and everything, and like, and sure, yeah, I'm not gonna hide that the instrument's from Trinidad and Tobago. I'm not gonna like stop people from finding that out. But I'm also there's gonna be times where I just like I play my show, and I'm not like, all right, by the way, everyone, let's have a history lesson.
Right.
So in 1940, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
I wouldn't expect that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like I think that like that's not particularly what I do, and I don't come from that. So like me being genuine is actually for me to just be myself and to show up in that way.
Yeah.
Also in terms of people who like, or have been hating on me and stuff like that, or have hated on me. One time someone wrote an entire article about how I worship the devil, which is not true.
Good grief.
Yeah. But that was a moment where I was like, you know what? I think I made it.
Yeah. You're right. You know what? You're right.
Yeah, there's an article. You can if you Google, I can't believe I'm saying this right now, but if you Google Jonathan Scales satanic, there's going to be an article that pops up that's like a full thing, and that article is from someone in the community.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Would I know their name when I look them up?
No, it's probably like a random.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to like.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah,
people can go find it. Yeah,
it's totally out there. But like, I just say all that to say that like, I've had people who are like, wow, like we're proud that like you've taken this national instrument of Trinidad and Tobago and you're doing your thing. And there's people who are being like, this man must be evil if he's doing this work. So like, I've seen both sides.
Both are signs that you made it, man.
Yeah, I'm just happy that people are interpreting it. Like, I feel like my job as an artist is to like put out the work, and then like people interpret it as they may. And and then also my job is to like not feed into all the love. You know what I mean? Like all the adoration or whatever. Like I'm also not feeding into that and changing my work based on that. I'm not being like, oh man, people like this. They like this and like this. Let me do more of this. I'm also not doing that.
Right. Let me do 10 versions of Box in the Sky, you know, like let me just keep doing that album and that song. And you don't want to do that. And a lot of artists have, you know, a lot of artists have had success with something and then they just keep regurgitating that. Whereas some artists, every album, like look at David Bowie, every album was a different journey, you know, a completely different persona, a different sound, a different, you know, so, and, you know, like anything, Jonathan, it's so subjective. And like anything, whether it's bananas, shoes, boating, music, people either love it, hate it, or not care. And none of that matters because you got to do what you do for you as an artist.
Right.
So what are you working on now? Do you have gigs happening? Are you working on your album or?
Right now, I'm just like, okay, I guess like the most boring, straightforward answer is like, you know, like I've been able to create a sustainable career for myself based off of my brain.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like that's really what it comes down to. I like thinking about it in the most simple form. And like really like I have these ideas in my head about sound and music and how I like to configure it and how I like to have certain people get together to interpret it, which is my band. And I'm very lucky that I get to you know, have created a way of like a living for myself where, you know, there's a supportive fan base that will come out to see us in whatever given city in the world to varying degrees. And so right now I'm just really focused on just like the perpetuation of like my career and like, you know, so we're touring and then like in between tours, I'm like figuring out the next ones and just, you know, artistically, sure, it's like adding this to the repertoire, adding that to the repertoire, becoming a better player myself, like in terms of like how I'm approaching my own music, you know. But then there's like the stuff of like, cool, like we're going on tour in Europe, we're touring Europe in November, and all the work that it takes to like make all these things happen. Also, there's one of my albums called Mind State Music, which is actually like it's a 6-movement work that I wrote for my band plus a steel pan ensemble. And so in 2027, that album is going to be expanded and it's going to be arranged for a symphony orchestra.
Oh, wow.
So it's going to be me and my band with the symphony orchestra playing that album.
Oh, that is amazing. That is so cool.
Yeah, so that's something that's like, sure, that is 2 years away. But like I'm at that point where like this is a new step for me too. Where like, you know, there's I don't even know if I'm supposed to say this actually. It hasn't been officially confirmed yet, but like in 2 years, I'm gonna be performing that work with a full symphony. So like I'm also something that I'm working on too.
That is great. You're breathing it into reality right now as you do talk about it, you know?
Yeah. And it's already, yeah, I don't know if there's been an announced date for that. So it's fine. But like that's in the works. And there's also other symphonies that are like signing on to do that after that. So like it looks like as the career is growing, we're going to be doing more work with like where we're showing up and playing with like an orchestra.
That's awesome. Are you is any of this kind of get filmed into an actual product or like an Amazon Prime or Netflix or something?
See now I can't really speak on it from there because I've already said too much.
Then I'll just say we're looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Cool. So for my last question, and you're always welcome to come on and talk about whatever you want, promote whatever you want. But my last question for now is, in those slivers of time, it's the Jonathan Scales Fun Fact segment, okay? In those slivers of time when you're not writing, you're not composing, you're not producing, you're not recording, you're not rehearsing, you're not working on your chops, you're not gigging, you're not recording. What do you like to do? Give us a peek behind the curtain. How do you like to spend your time in those bits of pockets of time outside of music?
Okay. So I live in New York, and I will say that I have a pretty active social life. So like I like to hang out with my friends.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, to varying degrees. It's like, so I'm I'm typically like, even on a day where I'm working on music and I'm at home and I'm sending emails and I'm taking meetings and doing interviews and phone calls and writing and this and recording and all this happening, I get random calls from my random friends, say, hey Jonathan, like let's come here, let's go there. So, and like in between tours, that's kind of like it's like, it brings me a lot of joy to like hang out with the people that I know here in New York.
Does it act as like almost like, the hustle and bustle of being on tour and the focus and everything it takes to record an album, let alone prepare. And then those are those times where you get to, I get to just be normal. I get to be a guy with my guys and my girls and my bros and my sisters and just hang, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And also like when I'm on tour, it's really like go, go, go. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
for me, it's not necessarily like, this idea that like, oh, we're playing shows every night and we're partying and this and that. It's like, it's work, and we're running a business.
Totally.
So like, so when I'm at home in Brooklyn, it's nice to be like, like even waking up in the same place every day.
Right.
It's like a different change of pace from like being on the road and traveling all the time. So like, I do enjoy, I guess, when I was a kid, they said I was a social butterfly, whatever that means. So like, I like to hang out with my friends.
That's cool.
Also, I would say I like to study philosophy and psychology a lot. So like,
oh, that's great.
I've been studying a lot of Buddhist philosophy.
I did as well. Tibetan was the path I studied a lot of.
Yeah.
Do you know who Pema Chodron is?
Yeah.
Yeah, I read almost all her books.
Yes, she has a great book called When Things Fall Apart.
That was the first one. That was the first one. Start from where you are. Yeah, those were life-changing for me. Life-changing. Yeah. I shouldn't say life-changing. They were perspective altering. They were mood altering. They were how to deal with altering.
Yeah, which ultimately changes your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that life-changing is accurate, but I think that like the way you described it makes sense. So yeah, like I'm pretty deep into like Buddhist philosophy, and I'm very careful to say I study Buddhist philosophy because like I don't consider myself to be a Buddhist.
Right, likewise.
You know what I'm saying? But like any type of like, I also study Stoicism too. Like Stoicism.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca and all those guys. So I'm really into just philosophy and psychology and like the way that humans interact with each other and the way that it all works. It's very fascinating to me. So like,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm always listening to a random podcast or watching random YouTube videos and reading random books. And weird fact about me.
Great. That's great though. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Jonathan, thanks so much for taking time at night, late at night, taking you away from your social stuff, but we know that stuff stays open late in Brooklyn. My wife being from the Bronx, I know that. And like I said, you are always welcome to come on and just talk music, talk philosophy, promote whatever you've got going on. The door is absolutely always open.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. And I know I was philosophically all over the place on this interview. So
that's
hopefully,
okay,
hopefully everyone who's watching this and who will watch it will, have a better or more clear perspective of who I am as a human being.
Yep. That's why we do this.
This is what we're doing. So
I want to,
go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was going to say, I want to meld that with you as the artist and close with a bit of a clip because there's people that might not have seen that part of the interview. But
okay,
it's just beautiful. And that's what this is for you to be and say who you are. you know, just like your music.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Hang on the line with me, okay?
All right.
All right, folks, check this out. It's a replay for some of you. It's a wonderful introduction for the others. Check it out.